Grammarly Business offers AI-powered writing assistance for your enterprise needs.
Stay with me if you want it. Stay with me if you want it. Stay with me if you want it. Stay with me if you want
Dhirubhai Ambani and Chanakya and everything. And he commented on it saying, where is Ramesh's photo? This thing just came in my head that he's sitting in that plane. There's a private jet photo in that illustration. So I just think he's maybe sitting in that plane. Just one of the bad jokes that we can connect.
Session. And in today's session, we're going to be doing actually the 6 tips to build self-trust. So in fact, for the past 3 days, we have been talking only about self-trust. Day 4, we talked about the definition of self-trust, what it is, people who are self-trusting, how are they, right? And there were aspects that came out of it. And yesterday we talked about 3 aspects of self-trust. And today we're going to be talking about 6 tips tips to build self-trust. Okay, so all the 3 days, the affirmation remains the same. The actions are different. The actions for all the 3 days are different. Okay, so wonderful. And as I'm like talking about this, one thing that is definitely the reason why I'm doing this is basically to help 100,000 women become self-reliant. And the word self-reliant, as I keep explaining, let me check if I'm recording this. Yes, it is getting recorded. And the reason why there is the reason why I chose self-reliance as one of the words, in my vision is basically of the definition of self-reliance. And all of you must have understood the definition of self-reliance by now from day one, right? Where the Ralph Waldo Emerson his definition and his essay in 1841, which was written, quite extensively, to say that it is basically to voice one's opinions irrespective of social norms. And that really, really intrigued me because uh, as women being in a society, trying to express our opinions is something that there is enough research to say that we're not able to do that even in our own family relationships, whether it is with our husband, our close relationships, kith and kin, or mother, or father. Sometimes, we're not able to express our opinion irrespective of social norms. So the whole essence of this self-reliance is to be able to express thoughts, express opinions publicly, and to further understand what self-reliance means, so that there are various essays that are getting unfolded with and by understanding self-reliance. So if you're with me, you can say yes, no, maybe, whatever it may be, or whatever that you've understood till now. You can type it in the comments box saying what that one thing that you've attended for the past 5 days, having attended these sessions. What is that one thing that you have really learned the last 5 days? That would be great to know. You can either just type it in a word, maximum a sentence. What is that one learning that you've really attained the last 5 days that you've been attending this session? And so one is the what, another is how are you implementing this in your day-to-day life? Whatever that you have learned for the last 5 days, what have you learned? One word, maximum sentence. And second thing is, how are you implementing it in your day-to-day life? Is it really making a change? Just type in your messages there, and we can. I'll just give it a minute, and we can then move on to the actual topic. Okay, there I go. I put the timer there. So are you going to be typing it there? Yes, I'm looking for that. Yeah. So what is it that you've learned? And these 5 days. And second thing is, how are you implementing it? Are these little practical things that we are doing? How are you implementing it? Is it helping you? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. So type in the comment box, how is it really helping you? Yes, no, maybe. And also, how are you like taking it in your life and implementing it? Okay. Just go ahead and do that. And while you do that, and while people are joining in, I'll move into also talking about what we did a little bit, what we did yesterday, because today's is a build-up of what we did yesterday, right? So this is what we looked at yesterday. We looked at 3 aspects of self-trust, which is what we went a little deeper into. We understood about regret, we understood about inner critique, and we understood about past and future in terms of how to handle this. Okay, this is what we understood yesterday. The 3 aspects of to self-trust, right? And quickly, I want us to go through. Understand what are those 3 aspects, right? So the first thing that we learned in regret is that the whole concept of regret, right? The whole feeling that we should never have regrets, that itself leads to a lot of resistance, and that itself leads to a lot of regret building further and pain. Okay, so just as we are able to forgive others, when someone harms you, just like you're compassionate about that, if you're able to be compassionate in forgiving our own selves, then actually what happens is over a period of time, and if we are able to demonstrate that we have learned from whatever mistakes that we made, over a period of time, regret evaporates. Of course, there were other things that I told you about this, but this was the essence that we need to demonstrate that we have learned from the mistakes, and then the regret automatically evaporates. So this was the first part that we learned yesterday. Let me just delete this slide. Yeah. And then what we learned uh, about regret was that. And then if you look at the inner critique, which was the second aspect of self-trust, we said that there was something that I used, some word that I used. Would you be able to type that? Or you can even unmute and speak. There was a word that I used, which helps us uh, uh, and basically, there was a essence or a message that I was trying to say, that when we understand inner critique, what is it that we need to do? Because can you, type that as to what is it that you learned when we were talking about inner critique? So there is this voice inside. There is this voice, and that keeps popping up. Yeah, and when it pops up, how are we handling it? Okay, are we escaping it by drinking, smoking, drugs because we are not able to face it? Are we arguing with it because we're not able to answer the questions that are coming up, right? Related to the inner critique or the inner voice. Okay, then there are certain inner critique questions that I actually asked you to look at, right? And when we were looking at inner critique questions, basically what it came out was that we need to. Do you remember what I said? I basically said we need to look at the nature. You need to look at the nature. You need to be curious about the nature of your voice. So if I would request you to unmute, mute, there is background noise. So we need to, yeah. So we need to look at we need to be curious about the nature of your inner critique. If we are curious about the nature of the inner critique, then we know, then we slowly understand it, and we start answering those questions inside in an objective way rather than arguing with it. And it becomes like instead of it becoming a battle between us, right? So we are getting into a stage where we are able to answer those questions, inner critique questions, in a very, very objective way, in a balanced way. So that is the whole idea. Okay, now the third thing that we spoke about yesterday was the past and future. Okay, in the three aspects to self. Okay, so the third thing we said is the past and the future. There were some important aspects that came out in this. Basically, what it meant was we need to have a courageous heart to be able to stay in the present for longer periods of time. And that was what was the assignment that we took. Because what happens is, if we are, really conscious about the regret and worrying about it, we are staying in the past. If we are fearful of the possibilities that may happen in the future, we are in the future. But and with the result bouncing between past and future, what we tend to do is we are not really there in the present. But it is a lot of things that is going on in your mind. Why are we not there in the present? Is because in being in the present, we feel unprotected. There are, and worry is sort of it's like a defense of keeping trouble away. You keep worrying, you express it to keep the trouble away, and so you are not in the present. And also, since there are people who will ask you these questions, you were doing these things in the present, but there are so many things to be taken care of. There are so many people to be met. There are so many plans to be done, and that is the fearful mind, which will probably not allow you to be in the present. So the anxiety, we need to be able to stay longer in the present, handling the anxiety, sort of coping with the anxiety. So we need to be tolerant of that anxiety, because that anxiety is actually the fearful mind. Okay, so it seems a little deep, but We need to have a courageous heart to be in the present for longer periods of time, though you may feel it is unprotected. This is extremely important. And we need to be tolerant of the anxiety. What is the anxiety? That, oh, I've not done that. Oh, I've not met this. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to plan. Oh, I have to. So either your O's are either being in the past or the present. We need to tolerate that anxiety and be in in longer periods in the present. Okay. So wonderful. Give me a 5. Thank you, Anusha. You're the only one who switched the video on. And so you give me a 5. And all of you behind the camera there also give me a 5. Wonderful. So having spoken about the 3 aspects of self-trust, which was what was yesterday, today what we thought I will do is 6 tips to build self-trust. Okay, it's beautiful. Okay, and one thing that you can see there in the slide is there are trust can be built very beautifully, either with family members or with friends. You start speaking to them, you start sharing things, and what will happen is over a period of time, the trusting others and they trusting you, you trusting them, that will happen. But what about including the relationship you have with yourself? So this is what is very, very important, because even if you're trusting others, okay, others will start sensing that there are maybe what is inside and what is outside is very different. The kind of energies that you dissipate, even when you're sharing information, even when you're building that trust with family members, friends, or whoever it is in the office or whatever it may be, if what is inside is not aligned with what is outside, and what is your relationship with yourself is not that aligned, what happens is it gets tougher for you to make the decisions, because if you start self-trusting, means sort of trusting yourself, it becomes easier for you to make decisions. And even if you don't, the good news is you can build it. Okay, so you give me a 5 on that. That even if you do not trust yourself, okay, it's okay, because you can build it over a period of time. And this is not something that is probably can be done overnight. This takes time. It takes energy, attention, and effort to sort of feel, be, and do. Sort of be and do, right? So the sometimes, what is very important is, why is it becoming difficult to take decisions? Is when you can't trust yourself because you fear you're making the wrong choice. Now, or it is linked to the one that we spoke yesterday about your inner critique. Either you're so much it's so important for you to take the right choice that the decisions get really delayed, or it becomes very difficult because uh, you are worried that you may make the wrong choice. Number one. Number two is your inner critique, it comes up and it will say things to you which you're not able to handle. And that is what, and you're more prone to criticizing your own decisions. See, I took this, I shouldn't have done this, I should have done that, I should have done this, I should have done this, and it goes on. So that's a vicious sort of a circle. So building trust in yourself can help boost your decision making skills. And when you start, if you see why this challenge at the end of it will help you say no very smoothly, because you then become very self-trusting, right? And you also include increase your self-confidence. And I'm going to be taking a separate session on self-confidence. This will make life so easier for you, because once you take a decision, you will stick to it. So there's nothing more important to trust than yourself. Like this will help boost self-confidence and make life feel easier for you. Okay. Having said that, the first one, is basically talking about the 6 tips. The first tip is be yourself. Okay. Now, the whole thing is, if you're acting like someone else in public, okay, people start sensing it. Suppose you're different outside, you're different inside. I know we need to play different roles. That's true. But the integrity part of it is one aspect. So acting like a different person than who you really are is a sign that you are lacking self-confidence and trust in yourself. Other people will be able to sense it. So once, see, there are ways that you can deal with it. Probably because of whatever upbringing and all that, there are doubts. Now, when you are in a uh, group of people, if you do not trust them, be yourself with whom you feel comfortable with. So one of the ways of dealing with how to be yourself in public, they will know me, I cannot reveal everything, that's okay. So you start being, first of all, comfortable, being yourself with people whom you're comfortable with. And then you expand your circle slowly and you start really, so what is inside is what is outside. So this then once you and then you see how people react, what are people saying, and then slowly you build the confidence and then you expand your circle. Otherwise, what happens is wherever you go, if you like sort of have what do you say, um, loss of words there, but if you sort of make a shield of what you are out and what you are in, which is different, it's going to be very difficult for you to be in public situations because it's such an effort. So when we are talking about social norms, to be able to voice your opinions, irrespective of social norms, this aspect comes being yourself in whatever role that you're playing, right? So be yourself is the first point. The second point, ladies, this is very, very important. Some of you, of course, have already made goals who are a part of my community, but these goals need to be reasonable for yourself. We make a house, we aim. This is just an example that I've put in here. I'm sure you're all earning much more than that. But what I'm saying is that if it is you're aiming at 50,000 a year and you're instead of aiming of 50,000, which is what is something that is reasonably reachable, you start aiming at something really big, say 1 lakh, and then start working really hard towards it, and start doing projects which are like instead of doing it in 3 weeks or completing it, so really working hard. But what happens is at the end of it, when you put sort of targets which are really unreasonable, there is more of failure because it's not possible to reach that in that span, and that's the evaluation what needs to do. So instead of setting one big goal, we keep setting little goals towards the direction of the big goal. And that will help you, even if you fail in those small goals, it's okay. If you start failing and putting a big target, if you start failing, then you start feeling your self-trust actually goes down, right? So this is the second one. So the first one is be yourself. The second one is this is about the set reasonable goals. Yeah. Okay. Now, the third one is I've repeated this quite a number of times, and I'm going to be saying it in a different context like this. You've probably heard of unconditional love, and generally, when you say unconditional love, it is about love between parents and children, right? But the same thing you can even show with yourself. Now, uh, one of the ways of doing it is actually to just get rid of negative. So what do you mean by unconditional? It's not like you hug yourself and say, ah, you're so good, you're the best. No, that's not what I'm saying. And if you start doing this, people will think you're mad. It's not like, ah, you're the best. No, that's not it. It's more like negative thoughts. You know, when you're unconditional, it's about stopping your negative thoughts, getting rid. Loving yourself unconditionally is just getting rid of those things because see, it doesn't, the mind is just playing its role. So, and then it is helpless. It's a tool. Like, you have to direct it. So you can just ask it to keep quiet by getting rid of the negative thoughts. But if you keep feeding it, you're just letting it go, right? So you start keeping, that is once, and you start keeping a close eye on your inner voice. So this is very, very important. Getting rid of negative thoughts, start keeping a close eye on the inner voice and the nature of it. If you remember yesterday, I was speaking about curious about being about the nature of your inner voice, asking questions. So is it accepting or is it critical? when you can love yourself unconditionally, you can trust yourself unconditionally, and that is self-confidence. And I'm going to be anyway taking you a session on self-confidence as a separate S. In all the S's, that is definitely one S we need to focus on. So this is about, so being kind to yourself is more about getting rid of negative thoughts and having a close eye on your inner critic. Okay. And then the fourth one is build on your strengths. So this is always something people say, like, strengths and weaknesses. Work on your weaknesses, play on your strengths. In fact, the weaknesses you should work further on it so that you can overcome it. This is also something people say. But it's also a good idea for you to look at your strengths. If you are looking to do more of the things that you're good at, will give you more of the self-trust or the leading to self-confidence. And if you're not sure what you're good at, it's very, very important to ask closer people who are close to you. Sometimes you don't know what you're good at, right? In fact, your close people, your kitten, your friends will know. Ask them, hey, what do you think I'm good at? They'll tell you, don't you know you're so good at this? You're good. Sometimes we ourselves don't see it. We have it in us and we don't see it. So if you're not sure what you're good at, go talk to your close people, your friends, or who you're really close to, and spend more time doing those things and building your trust, knowing you'll excel at those things because it's your strength, right? So be accepting of your strength as well as your weakness. This is a very, very important point, the last point, that we are accepting of our strengths and weaknesses. So we know what are our weaknesses. It's not that we should not know what our weaknesses are. Each one of us will have it. But it may take longer to overcome weaknesses. But if you're aware of it, you at least know, even in an interview, for example, you can direct, in fact, you can direct the questions around your strengths. You can very well do it. You can tell people about examples and information you can share with them. You directing your interview, whether it is a first time interview, whether it is a leadership interview, whether it is any level interview, the way you can direct the interview the way you want, with telling them all the kinds of things that you did, which are your strengths. Okay? So that's how you play over your strengths, but you very well know of your weaknesses. And so you don't go there too much. And in case there is a situation where you have to do it, you ask for more time. Maybe that's one way of dealing with it. Okay. Okay. Now, spend time. This is extremely important. This I keep telling in my community as one of the ethics, which is basically inner silence. Spend time with yourself. When you don't trust yourself, you might feel uncomfortable spending time looking inward, because what you just go here and there, like you want to be busy all the time. You want to do activities like sort of not really addressing the inner critique that is there. So just 5 to 10 minutes of either meditation or sitting with yourself, breathing, these things will really help you settle down, right? And finally, the last thing, okay? Today I wanted it to be exactly done at 5:30. It's a Sunday evening, but thank you so much, whoever is attending this. Okay, so the sixth thing is the whole aspect around self-trust. If you look at it, ladies, is actually around decision making to a certain to a large extent, because we lack trust in ourselves when we question our actions or decisions. We've taken a decision, we question it. We have done an action, we question it. We think something, we question it. We have an emotion, we question it. Sometimes we might even question who we are. And who, why am I, so the whole, and with the result, what happens is the decisions do get delayed, not, or you may not even take it. So being decisive, build trust in yourself by breaking your habit of questioning your decisions. If you can break your habit, by questioning your decisions, like take a decision, you stick to it. Okay? Even if it turns out not to be the best choice, you know, whatever is best for you, whatever is needed, you've done it. Even if it is not really the best choice you've taken, whatever you have decided, just stick to it. The best you can do is to learn from your mistake. And so this is what you need to move from a direction of going on questioning what you've done, do if it's right, wrong, whatever. And then you keep doubting whatever decision you've taken already, right? So even if you've taken that, it's fine and you learn from it. So believe, believe that you will make a better choice next time. So even if it is a mistake, you believe and you like change the wiring by saying you will start doing it better next time. So so doing so will help you learn to be more trusting of yourself and your decision making skills. So finally, actually, if you're more trusting about yourself, it's actually is leading to better decision making skills. And when you are taking better decisions, you actually will say no to certain things because you've decided this is what uh, you are doing. And if something else comes, you can say no to it. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. So so what we'll do is it's a very simple kind of thing that is there. I want you to type what are all the 6 tips. Just type the 6 tips, whatever you remember, one by one. Just go ahead and type it. 6 tips that I gave you, just go ahead and type it. Whatever you remember and whatever is stuck to your mind, you can type it. And then what we will do is we will unmute and we will tell the affirmation. And the assignment for you today, whatever you've learned in the 6 tips, please type that. Okay. Go ahead and do that. And what we'll do is we will unmute and reaffirm and then we will learn. So the assignment is basically learn from your mistake and believe that you will make a better choice next time and move on. So basically anything that you do, there will be some leeway, some mistake that may happen. Learn from that and then say, hey, what the way I'm going to be doing this, I'll do it better next time. So that's the assignment that you need to just look at, uh, when you're till tomorrow that we need. Okay. So now I'll go ahead with the 3, 2, 1 action. Okay. And I'll do 3, 2, 1 and we'll go ahead and do the affirmation. It's the same affirmation for the past 3 days because it's all linked to self-trust. Okay. I grow and become a better version of myself every day. So can we do that? Can I do 3, 2, 1? We do that affirmation, unmute, and then we move on for today, Sunday evening. Have a great time, the remaining evening of the day. And there I go, 3, 2, 1. Let's say it.
I grow and become a better version of myself every day.
Okay. What about every thanks, Aparna, Anusha, and what about the rest? Whoever is there, let's do it again. 2 more times, and then okay. So there's some people who've written about what they learned. Nice. Find out what you are good at, or take a suggestion from your near and dear ones. Be kind to yourself. Those are the 2, and there were 6. So you can go back and look at the video later. And 3, 2, 1. I grow and
become a better version.
A better version of myself every day.
Every day. Each one of you, there. Thank you so much. And yes. And one last time. 3, 2, 1. I
grow and become a better version of myself every day.
Okay, wonderful. And just look at this particular Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote. Self-trust is the first secret of success. So when you start being compassionate, so please don't get. It's not that you love yourself and say you're the best, but it is about getting off the negative thoughts. It is about this beautiful this thing, accepting the mistakes. Suddenly forget that. Let me bring that back. It's just to remove the negative thoughts, number 1, and to be able to accept the mistakes and to be playing on your strengths, to be kind to yourself, okay, and to be compassionate unconditionally so that you can take better decisions, okay. So this is what it is for today. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about self-awareness. We're moving to a different, and this is all coming from day one, if you remember, where we said for us to be non-conforming, for us to, we need to beat sort of social barriers. Some of the concepts like self-trust, self-awareness, self-acceptance, these things are ignored. So we are looking, and there are other essays that I'll be dealing with. So we're looking at the SS day by day so that we understand what it is, and then it becomes easier for us to probably break those non-conformity or the barriers with social norms that we need to follow on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Okay, ladies. Thank you so much. And it's a short and a sweet session. Thank you so much for attending on a Sunday. And the next class, we're going to be having it on self-awareness. Thanks. Have a great remaining Sunday. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, Preetha. Thank you.
Bye-bye.